The discovery. In the outer rim of the Andromeda sector, where starlight barely penetrated the cosmic dust clouds, the Xyrillian exploration fleet moved with calculated precision. Comprised of 7 sleek vessels with curved hulls that reflected the distant starlight in shimmering patterns, the fleet represented the pinnacle of achievement for the Xyrillian Confederacy, a species that had risen to prominence through careful observation and methodical expansion. Commander Thax stood on the bridge of the lead vessel, the Eternal Seeker, his 4 eyes scanning the holographic displays that surrounded his command platform. His scaled skin, a deep blue that darkened around his neck ridges, caught the light of the displays as he moved. "Report on the anomaly, Science Officer Vex," Thax ordered, his voice carrying the distinctive clicking undertone of his species. Vex, a younger Xyrillian with lighter scales that indicated her academic caste, manipulated the central display with her long, 6-fingered hands. "The signal appears to be artificial in origin, Commander. It's unlike anything in our databases, pulsing in irregular patterns that suggest intelligence rather than natural phenomena." "Distance to source?" Thax asked, his outer eyes narrowing while his inner ones remained fixed on the main display. "Approximately 8 light minutes, sir. It's coming from a region marked as the Void on our charts, a sector abandoned after the Great Purge Wars 3 centuries ago." The Great Purge. The mere mention of it caused a ripple of unease through the bridge crew. Though none of them had lived through those dark times, every Xyrillian knew the stories, passed down through generations, of the mighty races that had fallen. Among them, perhaps the most mysterious were the humans, a species that had appeared suddenly on the galactic stage, risen to incredible heights of technological advancement, and then vanished just as suddenly. "Is it possible this is human technology?" Thax asked, the question hanging in the air like a dangerous cloud. Vex hesitated, her scales rippling with apprehension. "The signal patterns share some characteristics with fragmentary human communications in our ancient archives, but those records are incomplete at best. The Galactic Council classified most information about human technology after the Purge." "For good reason," muttered Security Chief Kraz from his station. His scales were a battle-hardened gray, and numerous scars marked his face, reminders of conflicts past. "My great ancestors served in the final campaigns." He said the humans didn't fight like other species. They fought like they had nothing to lose and everything to prove. Thax considered this information, his 4 eyes blinking in the Xyrillian pattern that indicated deep thought. The Void was technically outside Xyrillian jurisdiction, but a discovery of functioning human technology could elevate their standing in the Galactic Council dramatically. "Set course for the signal origin," he decided. "Slow approach, passive scans only until we know what we're dealing with." As the fleet altered course, the 6 support vessels forming a protective hexagon around the flagship, none of the Xyrillians realized they were about to make a mistake that would reverberate across the galaxy. The journey to the signal source took 3 standard cycles, during which time Science Officer Vex noticed something peculiar about the Void. "Commander, our long-range sensors indicate an unusual absence of cosmic background radiation in this region. It's as if something is absorbing it." "Natural phenomenon?" Thax questioned, though his tone suggested he already suspected the answer. "Unlikely, sir. The pattern is too uniform, too perfect. This has the hallmarks of advanced technology, stealth technology beyond our current understanding." When they finally arrived at the signal coordinates, the fleet came to a complete stop, engines powered down to minimal levels. The view screen showed nothing but empty space, yet the signal continued, stronger than ever. "There's nothing here," Kraz growled, his hand resting on the weapons control panel out of habit. "No," Vex whispered, her scales paling to an almost white hue. "There's something here. Our sensors are being redirected around it." She worked frantically at her station, bypassing standard sensor protocols and implementing experimental scanning techniques that would later be described in her official report as intuitive overrides of established parameters. The main view screen flickered, and suddenly it appeared. A massive vessel hung in space before them, so large that it dwarfed the entire Xyrillian fleet. Its hull was midnight black, absorbing light rather than reflecting it, making its true dimensions difficult to comprehend. The shape was unlike any ship design known to the Confederacy, angular in some places, curved in others, with no obvious pattern except that every line, every surface seemed purposeful. By the first waters, Kraz breathed, his usual stoicism cracking in the face of the Colossus. Preliminary analysis confirms it, Vex said, her voice barely audible. Human design signatures. Based on size and configuration, this matches fragmentary records of what they called Titan-Class warships, the apex of their military technology before the Purge. Life signs. Thax demanded, fighting to keep his voice steady. None detectable, but our scans can barely penetrate the outer hull. The material composition is, Commander, it appears to be partially phase-shifted, existing simultaneously in normal space and somewhere else. The signal that had led them here suddenly stopped, plunging the bridge into an eerie silence broken only by the soft hum of their own ship's systems. It knows we're here, Kraz said, not a question but a statement of fact that sent chills through the command team. On the surface of the massive human vessel, something changed. Patterns began to glow along its hull, lines of soft blue light tracing incomprehensible symbols that seemed to shift and change even as they watched. Are those words? Thax asked. I believe so, Vex replied, her analytical mind racing to catalog the patterns, but not in any language we have records of. The patterns suggest a linguistic structure far more complex than any known to the Confederacy. Hail it, Thax ordered. Standard diplomatic frequencies, all known protocol formats. Communications Officer Pex, who had been silent until now, swallowed hard before executing the command. Broadcasting, sir. No response. Perhaps a more detailed scan would provide answers, Vex suggested, her scientific curiosity overriding her caution. If we calibrate our quantum resonance scanners to match the phase variance of the hull, we might be able to penetrate deeper, understand what we're dealing with. Thax hesitated. The directive was clear. Observe, report, but do not engage with potential human artifacts. Yet the opportunity before them was unprecedented. A functioning Titan-class warship could revolutionize Xyrillian understanding of physics, materials science, weapons technology. Proceed with the enhanced scan, he ordered, making a decision that would be analyzed and second-guessed by historians for generations to come. But target only the external hull sections. Do not attempt to penetrate command systems or power cores. Vex nodded, her fingers dancing across her console as she calibrated the fleet's most powerful sensors to focus on the mysterious vessel. Initiating quantum resonance scan in 3, 2, 1. The moment the scan beam touched the human warship, everything changed. The blue patterns on the hull flared to brilliant white, then crimson red. Symbols raced across the surface at increasing speed, like a cascade of falling stars. Sir, we're detecting massive power surges throughout the vessel, Vex cried, her console flashing with warning indicators. It's activating. Terminate scan. Shut it down now, Thax ordered, but it was already too late. A pulse of energy, invisible to the eye but devastating to electronics, expanded outward from the Titan-class ship. When it touched the first Xyrillian vessel, the explorer's vision, every system on the ship simultaneously failed. Lights, engines, life support, all gone in an instant. The ship didn't explode or break apart. It simply went dark, drifting lifelessly in space. What's happening? Thax demanded as a second vessel. Then a third suffered the same fate. Some kind of targeted EMP, but unlike anything in our records, Kraz reported, his voice tight with tension. It's not affecting our ship yet, but it's only a matter off. The pulse reached the Eternal Seeker, and the bridge plunged into darkness. Emergency lights flickered weakly, casting the command crew in an eerie red glow. Report. Thax shouted into the semi-darkness. All primary systems offline. Kraz replied, the fear in his voice now unmistakable. Weapons, engines, shields, everything. We're running on emergency power only, and that's failing fast. Can we send a distress signal to the Confederacy? Thax asked, already knowing the answer. Communications are dead, sir. We're blind and mute. On the main view screen, which had switched to a low-power backup system, they watched in horror as the massive human vessel began to change. Sections of the hull that had seemed solid were shifting, reconfiguring. Massive structures that could only be weapon emplacements emerged from hidden compartments. The vessel was awakening, transforming from a dormant relic to a fully armed warship. Sir, Vex said, her voice barely above a whisper as she stared at her handheld scanner. The only piece of technology still functioning. I'm detecting quantum communications, massive amounts of data being transmitted faster than light. To whom? Thax asked. I don't know, but the transmission patterns are spreading in all directions. It's as if it's calling to something, or to many somethings. As the last emergency lights on the bridge flickered and died, plunging them into complete darkness, a new light source appeared. The main view screen, despite having no power connection they could detect, illuminated with a message. The symbols were alien, human, but somehow, eerily, every Zerillian on the bridge could understand their meaning. Unauthorized SCANDDTCTE. Defense Protocol EPSI Loan activated. AVOEWAKI inning sequency initiated. ALERTINGTENETIDORC. Humanity are eatmin MBRs. In the darkness of the bridge, Commander Thax realized with crushing clarity what they had done. The humans hadn't vanished during the purge as everyone believed. They had gone into hiding, leaving behind sentinels, watching, waiting for the day when someone would make exactly the mistake his fleet had just made. And now, whatever force the humans had been holding in reserve for 3 centuries was awakening. The mistake had been made. The countdown had begun. In the silent blackness of dead ships, the Zerillians could only watch as the massive human warship fully activated, its hull now blazing with light, its weapon systems humming with power that their sensors could feel rather than detect. And beyond it, in the distance, pinpoints of light began to appear as other ships, other Titans, awakened from their long slumber. The galaxy was about to remember why the humans had been feared. The reckoning. The Galactic Council chambers on Nexus Prime had never been so crowded. Representatives from 27 major species and over 100 minor ones filled the vast amphitheater, their voices creating a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and rumbling tones that the universal translators struggled to process simultaneously. High Chancellor Zorn of the Velexi, whose crystalline body structure caught and refracted the chamber's light in dazzling patterns, raised all 4 of his upper limbs for silence. As the eldest serving member of the council, his authority was unquestioned, even in these unprecedented times. We have confirmed reports, he began, his voice translated into the 27 primary languages, that 15 outposts in the Outer Rim have gone dark in the last 30 standard cycles. The Zerillian exploration fleet has vanished. Long-range observation posts have detected massive energy signatures consistent with the activation of numerous vessels of unknown design and origin. Not unknown, interrupted Counselor Dex of the Morrigan Collective, his avian features sharp with tension. We all know what this is. The humans have returned. The chamber erupted again, fear and anger battling for dominance in the cacophony of voices. Impossible, shouted Representative Krell of the Thraki Imperium, his massive reptilian form rising to tower over his neighbors. The humans were eradicated in the Great Purge. My own ancestors led the final assault on their homeworld. Nothing survived. Then explain the Titan-Class warship that disabled the Zerillian fleet. Dex countered, projecting grainy footage captured by a long-range probe before it too went dark. The image showed the massive black vessel, now fully awakened, its weapon systems clearly active. Explain the identical vessels now appearing throughout the galaxy, always in regions we designated as dead zones after the purge. High Chancellor Zorn raised his limbs again. We have brought someone who may provide answers. Captain Thax of the Xerillian vessel Eternal Seeker was recovered in an escape pod 3 cycles ago. His ship was the only one in the fleet to launch pods before all systems failed. The chamber doors parted to admit a Xerillian who bore little resemblance to the proud commander who had led his fleet to disaster. Thax's scales had dulled to an ashen gray, and his movements were unsteady as he approached the central days. Only one pair of his 4 eyes seemed functional, the others staring sightlessly ahead. "Captain," Zorn addressed him gently, "please tell the Council what you experienced." Thax's voice rasped as if he had been screaming for days. "We found it dormant. A human Titan-Class warship, just as the ancient records described. We scanned it." He paused, his functional eyes blinking rapidly in distress. "The moment our scan touched its hull, it awakened. Not like a machine being activated, but like a predator opening its eyes. It released some kind of energy pulse that killed our ships instantly. Before our main systems failed, we detected massive quantum communications being broadcast across the galaxy." "What did the communications contain?" Chancellor Zorn pressed. "We couldn't decode most of it, but there was a message, displayed on our screens even after power failed. It said, 'Humanity remembers.'" Thax's voice broke on the final word. Silence fell over the council chamber, heavy with the weight of history and fear. "There is more," Thax continued after gathering himself. "Before I was ejected in the pod, I saw changes in the ship. It was transforming, weapons deploying. And in the distance, other ships, dozens of them, were appearing, answering its call." "How is this possible?" demanded Krell. "The historical records are clear. The combined fleets of the galactic powers destroyed Earth and all human colonies in the final year of the purge. No human vessels escaped our detection." From the shadows at the edge of the chamber stepped a figure few recognized, Elder Historian Vox of the Archivists Guild, whose species was so long-lived that they measured their lives in millennia rather than standard years. His form was withered, his skin like ancient parchment stretched over a skeletal frame, but his eyes burned with the intensity of accumulated knowledge. "The records lie," he said simply, his voice carrying effortlessly despite its softness. "I was there. I saw what really happened." The chamber fell silent once more, all eyes turning to the ancient being. "The humans were not destroyed in the purge," Vox continued. "They disappeared. There is a crucial difference. When our combined fleets reached Earth for the final assault, we found it abandoned. Every human colony, every outpost, evacuated. They had gone, taking their technology and knowledge with them. But they left behind sentinels, automated systems, and AI-controlled warships programmed to remain dormant until disturbed. Why would we falsify such records?" Chancellor Zorn asked, though his tone suggested he already suspected the answer. "Fear," Vox replied. "The leaders of that era feared panic if the population knew that humans still existed somewhere, planning, waiting. So they declared victory, claimed the humans had been eradicated, and classified the truth. They designated the abandoned human territories as dead zones and forbade exploration, hoping the sentinels would remain dormant forever. And now we have awakened them," Dex said, his feathers flattening against his body in distress. As if in answer to his words, every screen in the council chamber activated simultaneously, despite security protocols that should have made such a breach impossible. On each display appeared the same symbol, a stylized representation of Earth, surrounded by a complex pattern of interlocking geometric shapes that seemed to shift and change as they watched. Then a voice, synthetic yet somehow carrying emotional weight, spoke through the chamber's audio systems. "Attention, species of the Galactic Council. This is 8HE&A, Strategic Defense Intelligence of the Human Cooperative. After 3 centuries of observation, we have determined that active intervention is now necessary. The unprovoked scanning of Sentinel vessel Prometheus has triggered Defense Protocol Epsilon. The screens change to show multiple Titan-class vessels now active throughout the galaxy, each one larger and more heavily armed than any ship in the current combined fleets of the Council races. For 300 years, we have watched from the shadows. We have observed your civilizations evolve, your politics shift, your technologies advance. We have witnessed acts of compassion and creativity that gave us hope, and atrocities that confirmed our decision to remain hidden. The screen shifted again, displaying historical footage that many present recognized: wars between council races, the subjugation of newly discovered sentient species, the environmental destruction of pristine worlds for resources. Humanity did not flee out of fear, but out of wisdom. We recognized that our presence in the galaxy had become a catalyst for conflict. Our technology was being weaponized, our discoveries perverted for destruction. We chose isolation to give both ourselves and the galaxy time to mature. On the central days, a holographic figure materialized, humanoid in basic shape, but clearly artificial, composed of shifting patterns of light that formed a female-presenting entity whose eyes seemed to look at each council member individually despite addressing them collectively. I am Athena's avatar, sent to deliver humanity's terms. The network has awakened. The Titan fleet stands ready. We could destroy your combined forces with minimal effort, but that is not our wish. Humanity has evolved beyond the need for such primitive displays of power. What do you want? Chancellor Zorn asked, his crystalline form trembling slightly. Justice, accountability, and a new beginning, the Avatar replied. For 3 centuries, the human race has built a civilization beyond your understanding, in regions of space you cannot access with your current technology. We have achieved harmony among ourselves that was impossible in the days before the Purge. We have created technologies that would seem like magic to you now. Are you declaring war? Krell demanded, his reptilian features twisted in a snarl. The Avatar turned to him, her expression shifting to something that might have been pity. If we were declaring war, Counselor Krell of the Thraki, you would not be alive to ask the question. No, we are declaring a reassessment. The human race will rejoin galactic society, but on our terms, not yours. The screens changed again, displaying a complex document that scrolled too quickly for most to read. These are the new accords. They establish basic rights for all sentient species, prohibit the subjugation of emerging civilizations, mandate environmental protections for all life-bearing worlds, and create a new framework for technological exchange that prevents weaponization of scientific discoveries. And if we refuse? Asked Dex, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. The Avatar's expression hardened. Refusal is not an option. The Titan network is now fully activated. Every major military installation, fleet headquarters, and governmental center throughout Council space is currently targeted by at least 3 Titan vessels. This is not a negotiation. It is a notification. The chamber erupted in outrage, threats, and pleas, but the Avatar raised her hand and continued speaking through the chaos. You have 7 standard cycles to ratify the accords. During this time, the Titan vessels will remain on station as a reminder of our resolve. When the accords are ratified, human representatives will arrive to help implement the changes required. And then, Chancellor Zorn asked quietly when the chamber had finally settled into a stunned silence. The Avatar's expression softened, and then we begin anew. Humanity has much to share. Medical technologies that can extend your lifespans tenfold, power sources that require no fuel and produce no waste, transportation systems that can cross the galaxy in moments rather than months. She gestured, and the screens displayed images of human achievements. Cities that seemed to float in the air, vessels that moved between stars in the blink of an eye, beings of multiple species living and working together in environments of breathtaking beauty. This is what awaits if you choose wisdom over pride, cooperation over conflict. The mistake made by the Xyrillian fleet has forced our hand, but perhaps it will prove fortunate for all in the long term. The time of hiding is over. The age of humanity's return has begun. With those words, the avatar vanished, though the screens remained active, displaying the new accords in each species' native language for all to study. In the stunned silence that followed, Captain Thack spoke again, his voice stronger than before. When our scan touched their ship, I felt something. Not just technology, but a presence. It examined us, our history, our intentions, our very nature. In an instant, we were judged and found, not wanting, exactly, but immature, like children who had found their parents' weapon and needed to be taught responsibility. Elder historian Vox nodded slowly. The humans always possessed that quality. The ability to judge quickly yet see deeply. It seems 3 centuries of isolation has only sharpened that trait. Chancellor Zorn faced the council, his crystalline form now steady and resolved. We have 7 cycles to prepare for a new galaxy, one in which humanity has returned not as conquerors, but as teachers. Perhaps the most difficult lesson we must learn is humility. As the council began the long, contentious process of debating the accords, far away in the void where the Xyrillian fleet had made their fatal error, the Titan-Class Warship Prometheus continued its silent watch. Its weapons remained ready, its sensors alert, its quantum communications linked to the network that spanned the galaxy in ways the council races couldn't begin to comprehend. And beyond the boundaries of known space, in the pocket dimension that humanity had created for themselves 3 centuries earlier, preparations were underway for the return. Ships were being readied, ambassadors selected, technology adapted for sharing rather than hoarding. The mistake had been made. The countdown was complete. The reckoning had arrived. Humanity had returned to the galactic stage, not with vengeance, but with vision. Not seeking retribution for past wrongs, but offering redemption through future rights. The age of isolation was over. The age of integration had begun. And the galaxy would never be the same again.